Hi, my name is Lucas Shaw. I'm a reporter for Bloomberg and author of the Screen Time newsletter. Though I am sad to miss the annual trip to Austin for barbecue and tacos and live music, I'm very happy to be moderating this panel today about one of the most exciting new projects that emerged during quarantine. We're talking about Versus, which is a recurring video series slash concert slash history lesson featuring some of the most famous names in music. And today on the panel, we have two of its creators, or its two creators, producers Swiss Beats and Timbaland, who are two of the most prodigious producers of the past 25 years. And we also have Fadia Kader who's the head of music partnerships at Instagram, which is an app you've probably all heard of and use every day, and also where you can go to watch each of the versuses live while they're happening. So thank you all for joining me for this. I want to start. I imagine most of the people have heard of it at the very least, but if you haven't seen a versus, what is it? What are you signing up for?
Nobody want to answer first? Well, Versus is an educational, celebrational platform where two creatives come together to play their hits, 20 hits apiece, and the audience get to see an experience never seen before with some of the greatest artists of our times, some of the biggest hit makers, some of the best songwriters, some of the best producers, some of the best performers in the world. And during COVID and even outside of COVID, we're trying to maintain the celebration of creatives. So Versus is a celebration of the creatives.
Now, it started just a couple of weeks into lockdown when the two of you were at home. But if memory serves, the idea for this dates back a lot further. Where did the idea for Versus originate, and then how did it come to be in 2020?
It was a Versus was an idea that me and Swiss had about 3.5 years ago. We tampered with it at Hot 97 Summer Jam, and it had a great response. And we always talked about doing a tour, doing an album. Versus, we pick our own artists. We had a whole plan, and we always, try to organize that plan. And nobody knew that the pandemic that this plan would become digital. It was all written. I mean, it was written in the universe just for this to happen this way.
Um, why'd you decide to use Instagram for it?
I believe Instagram everybody in America is on IG, and if you want to talk to anybody, it's like a worldwide walkie-talkie. You can reach anybody at any time and give out any information without the middleman. So why not do this idea? Me and Swiss know that we were doing something for love. Like, it was a joy of us just sharing our brotherhood and just bonding as, friends, because the pandemic make you realize your loved ones, you need to check up on people more. And that's what it all stemmed from, So it's like, let's give some joy. So I start tagging Swiss, start like, yo, what's up? What we doing? How we gonna do it? And he's like, I see what you're doing. And from there, it just took place. It took a grassroots of its own because of the love was so overwhelming of what we shared. Just doing conversation prior to setting that the first battle up, it was just all love, and I think that energy just transferred to the world. And IG was the perfect place to do that with. And that was the first that we saw technology send a spark out to every human being in the world.
Fadia, at what point in that first night or shortly thereafter did you and the folks at Instagram recognize what was happening, and did you reach out to Tim and Swiss? Did they reach out to you?
Yeah, so prior to us going into sheltering in place, we actually sent out a best practice sheet letting our partners know, like, hey, we know that you might be quarantining, if so, remember, live is the best way to connect one-on-one with your audience in a more intimate way. So obviously, like, that first week in sheltering in place, like, I was watching what was happening. A lot of musicians and artists were going live live, like trying to connect. Everybody was scared and at home. Obviously, Tim and Swiss are geniuses that they are. They decided to go live. There were a little bit of technical difficulties, so I got an email while I was honestly watching them live, and I was like typing comments in the comment section. Like at that time, things were like moving really fast. I got an email like to help troubleshoot some stuff with Gary, who is on Tim's management team. And it was just really exciting. It was electric because I do remember the Hot 97 stuff, and I was just so happy to see them come on the platform and make this happen. So obviously, we followed up with an email with some additional best practices, and the rest is history. We've stayed in touch this whole time, but they honestly brought that energy, and we just were there to help support in any way to keep it going.
How using primarily pre-lockdown?
Can you repeat that?
I was saying, how use Instagram pre-lockdown?
How often were artists using Instagram? Or
no, how did
often?
they use Instagram? Where?
Yeah. So Instagram is one of the main surfaces on the platform, along with feed, stories. Obviously, we have IGTV and Reels now, but live was mainly used as more of a scenes moment as opposed to like a main production moment. So, what Swizz and Tim were able to do was to make it an event and a production and utilizing live as opposed to just like showing us a behind the scenes moment. They brought us along for the journey, for the actual event, for the title, as opposed to just like being side stage. So that's how I would say, what they were able to do was shift the way culture happens on live.
And Swiss and Tim, how have you guys gone building it out? You start with the two of you, Swiss, you're in your car, then you have on some producers. At what point did you realize you had something special, and how did you choose to build it into what it's become?
Well, I think we just organically built it. We just listened to the fans, and we listened to the artists that wanted to be on the platform or use the platform before. And then we also knew that we need to make further steps to make sure the quality is right. So we brought in a team from Roland to troubleshoot with Instagram as well. And then we also know that people wanted to have another experience. So then we added the Apple component so you could watch in HD and do playbacks and different things like that. But, we're just constantly evolving the product and evolving where it started from. And, we even have some other big announcements of, how we're moving forward and new things that we have going on coming soon. And, it's just been an organic transition the whole entire time. And me and Tim always say, let the universe stay in control.
At what point in kind of your respective careers did the two of you become friends?
Me and Swiss always been friends. I mean, once I came to when I moved to New York, we always was passing by, and we always had that musical connection that led to our friendship, But at the same time, we was very competitive. I'm saying? It wasn't no animosity. We was always competitive, and he wanted to see what I was doing. I always wanted to see what he was doing. He was disruptive, just like I was disruptive. And I think when two people that think different and want to change the world have a special bond, and and that's why Versus, I believe, was so grand, because we really talked about our bond during the pandemic, and then Versus happened. So I believe that if you want to add years, I would say my whole music career, we've been friends.
Was there I guess one of the things that come up in the sort of what's called versus effect, where you see the effect that an individual event has on that artist, whether it's increase in listenership or social followings. Was there a particular event early on where you saw that take place and then it continued to snowball? Was there an artist who benefited most?
The versus effect, I think everybody benefits. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's called a versus effect. I think it's different effects, how they benefit, but to have something so powerful that it has an effect, you know what I'm saying? That's just a blessing in itself. You know, like Swiss can elaborate on all the effects that versus have.
I mean, you had some artist album that went from, number 40 to number one. You had most people on Versus followers on Instagram go up, 1 million plus. You had streams go up from musical artists, music being played, and up to 700+%. You had a lot of artists getting side deals from podcasts to, movies to now performing at all the award shows that's coming up. A lot of these artists, as great as they were and still is, a lot of people weren't thinking about them and calling them until after they seen them on the Verses, and then they seen that audience in Verses say, "Wait a minute, these people still have it." Then everybody start calling up those artists, and we call it the Verses effect. Who's singing the national anthem, Tim?
Gladys Knight for the All Star.
She said it right. Like that's a great decision, but we just find it strange and amazing that right after the Verses, all of these different things happen, and this is what we do it for. We do it for the Verses effect because those artists should get their gardens while they're living. And music shouldn't have an age limit on it. And that's what Versus show. Versus shows that music is timeless and creativity is timeless.
Fadia, did you have something you wanted to say?
I mean, I think they both hit it so well. The most important thing to know is that, like, my first recollection, obviously being from Atlanta, Jonte Austin is one of my favorite writers ever. And to see the discovery happening, I mean, this is early Versus days, right? But to see the discovery happen in real time and be like, holy crap, like Jonte wrote what, he did what, and to see his numbers like climbing in that moment was extremely impressive. And that's when I knew, I mean, again, early Versus days, it's just outstanding. And now like Jonte is in so many conversations. I mean, I just use him as an example because, he's not as big of a household name. He's an industry name. And for him to become a household name amongst, like just music fans to know what he contributed to music is just an example of what the Versus effect does outside of just like the big glorious things as far as like number one albums and streams and millions of followers. So it really is just so exciting to see.
Would you say, I mean, that brings up something that I've thought about in the context of the event. Is each event for sort of the hardcore fans of the artist that you're putting it on, or do you think it's more for that general audience and you figure the hardcore fans are going to show up no matter what?
I think everybody have a particular taste. We switch it up a lot. Last night we had D'Angelo, which was amazing. Next we have Raekwon versus Ghostface, which is amazing. So, we try to switch it up, just like how we went to, Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. Just like how we went to Kirk Franklin and the gospel side. We like to keep switching it up. Me and Tim plan on doing our reunion on our anniversary because, me and Tim's Verses was the first Verses, and I did mine from the car. He did his from his basement. And, to really step on our own, we haven't stepped on our stage the proper way. So we think for the anniversary, it'll be something amazing where we could relive that moment again at the anniversary and add a little bit more extra fun to it. But we always like to not be in a box. Versus is not something that should be predictable, which is why we did Versus Sports with the NFL, right? People then, if they thinking it's just two people going back and forth every time, that's not Versus. Versus is a celebration of creativity, period. We into comedy, we into sports, we into music, we into education, we into many things. And we into technology. And so during this discovery, people are gonna be able to unlock all of those different doors that myself and Tim and our team have been working on.
What are the plans for some of those different categories?
Go crazy. Just go ridiculous.
You know, talk about it, bring the idea, bring it to life.
Wait,
Have you
Lucas,
figured?
did you
Sorry.
know that Swizz and have yet to be in the same room in the past year in any of these verses? Like, that's a fun fact. So what I know this is your job, but what I want to know is, in the 1-year anniversary, when y'all do your verses, are you going to come together? Is it going to be a reunion?
Absolutely.
All right, then.
Same room. Same room.
And will there be lots of special guests?
Why wouldn't it?
It's the verses way.
We're gonna go crazy.
Do you guys advise some of the people participating on how to pace out songs, or having seen it, like, do you say don't start with the biggest hit, or do start with the biggest hit, things like that?
At the beginning of verses, you know, Swiss, like, he's so like curation is so like important, really, to both of us. But like to him, he was like, "Oh no, you cannot play this song," and people kind of can feel it when they pick the wrong song. Not saying the song is not a hit. It just everybody we tell people at the beginning is how you play your music is very important. Because when people start to judge it, they're going to judge on how you play your music. So now I believe that we've gotten to a better place of where people pick, you know, better songs to play.
I agree.
What does that mean, how you play your music?
Well, it's like, you know, a lot of these artists people haven't seen in a long time, and in the fans' mind, they have in their mind what they want to hear, right? Like, so if somebody was to tell me they're playing a brand new song to set off their verses, I would tell them it's a bad idea. And I'm like, you know, I think it's a bad idea for you not to have your first 10 songs at least be the songs that you know people want to hear, because that's where the most engagement is, and then people are maintained through the night. But you start coming on and playing these unreleased songs out the gate, you can lose the momentum of your audience, because they're like, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. What is this? Don't play 2 or 3. Your audience is going to totally tap out. So I tell them, save something for the beginning, save something for the end, save something for the middle, and then, you know, at the end, play something new. Do what you want after people are happy already. So that's just like regular advice that me and Tim tell the artists. But some of them don't listen, and it's okay.
I was one of those guys at one point in time in my life, because by me being a creative, you know, if I was being creative, we'd be like, "Oh, this would be dope because this original is fresh." But people want what they want. They want what they used to, and you have to know how to place in order your new. You know, so you just can't hit them off the back with the new or creativity. You got to line them up.
Well, it's kind of like when you go to see something live, no? I mean, and some of these people have to have that experience from trying to space out their public showings, no?
I believe it's the same kind of concept. Some people mess that up too. It's important, you know, like just what it is. And Swiss really said this, and we both talked about this. You got to curate a playlist. Everything has to feel like a playlist, and the concert got to feel like a playlist. If it don't, you're gonna lose people, especially right now in 2021. After we in a pandemic, we'll probably be out in another year or whatever. People want what they want, that instant hit. They want to be at fun. They don't want to be thinking, "Oh, this new. I don't know this." They don't want unfamiliarness. They want familiar. And then you hit them with the pop out.
You just said another. I'm wondering, when do each of you think that live music will really come back? Because we see artists who have scheduled tours for summer, fall, winter.
I think when everybody take the vaccine, I guess,
Yeah.
you can't even get on a plane without a COVID test now. So imagine going to a concert. You definitely gonna have to have the vaccine or the app in your phone they're gonna come with to show that you safe.
Yeah.
As far as with being around a mass amount of people, I mean, I know people that's still getting sick to this day, and it's not old people; it's younger people that's still getting sick to this day. Even though it might not be the most hyped up thing anymore, but it's still live in effect out there. So everybody still got to protect themselves, and I don't know how you're gonna do a spaced out arena. you know, people gonna have to they got to figure it out. But until then, we right here, and even when that happens, we gonna have the Versus tour jumping off too. So
Yep.
this is not only for here. I mean, it's starting here, and we're gonna keep it here on the digital side, but just know we're gonna come outside too when it's time to play.
Yes, we are. Because I feel like we're entering a phase where we're in the hybrid phase of life, where people are going to have to stream concerts. You can go to concerts, but I feel like you're going to have a streaming component to it too, because you're not going to travel all those cities like how we used to. That's not going to happen to at least if tour open up. I can see people doing how the football teams does it and the baseball teams, and be selective on the traveling and all the stuff that comes with it. But I believe streaming is going to be a part of it too.
So you think streaming will be? Sorry, go ahead.
No.
You go ahead.
You all think that streaming will be part of it long term? That 5 years from now, a tour will have a streaming component where someone maybe sells, an at-home concert for a third of the price or whatever it is.
Of course, it's too much money in streaming, and you reach everybody. Michael Jackson kind of had the right idea when he was going to do a show in London, and you had to go to London to see it. Now, just imagine if streaming was out. That's all he would have done. That's it. Whoever's there, if you want to see it live, you go to London. If you got the funds, you can go see it live. But the most part, if IG was out before he died, rest in peace, the king. But just imagine if IG was out and he did that concert. What? Lights out for technology.
Even with it, I feel that people are getting very comfortable with being in their own space now.
Yes.
Even when they come outside, they're coming outside, but it's not feeling right. It's not feeling safe. People guards are way up. So it's just like, you know what? For the anxiety that I'm going to get to be around 1,000, 3,000, 20,000, 50,000 people, I just set it up in my living room and have my own little 15, 20 people over, and we'll enjoy it from the VIP, which is my house. So a lot of people are thinking like that. A lot of things have to change for people to be comfortable to come outside in a real major way.
It's very true. The consumer behavior has completely shifted. I don't see us ever going back to just like a single performance stream. It has to be options. You have to have options. You can buy a VIP package at home or a meet and greet, potentially there might be a day where it's a meet and greet with the Versus artist. Here I am throwing out ideas, ahead of time. It's so many ways to do it. We've all had to adjust in the last year and some change that I don't see us. It's a new normal. We're shifting completely.
It's a paradigm shift.
What do you think Instagram could play in that?
I mean, today we just launched, thanks to the inspiration that these gentlemen have had. We've had many conversations about how Instagram can do better, be better. Today we launched the 4-screen live where you can go live with 3 additional people. So, I mean, there's ways. And I mean, the future is looking bright for Instagram when it comes to streaming. And we have the likes of Swizz and Tim to thank, and D Nice, and so many other artists that really, really took in live and forced our hand to shift culture, literally.
I think we're pretty much at the end, but I want to ask all of you. So taking out the 1-year reunion of the two of you, what upcoming Versus are you all most excited about?
All of them. All of them was
Listen,
excitement for
single
me.
one is so exciting, Lucas. How can you ask them that question? It's like legendary, one after the other. You can't ask of mom or dad who your favorite kid is. It's just not going to happen.
Well, we can say we're excited for Raekwon and Ghostface.
Yes.
Wu versus Wu. I think that's a very amazing cultural moment. I'm so happy those two agreed to do it. That's never happened before. We never had two people inside of their own crew facing off. And once again, you know, me and Tim thought it was amazing because it's not predictable. You know, it's like these two guys have always been seen together, but it's like, okay, well, let's flip it up and then see how the celebration work with those two. And we're excited about it. And we're excited about bringing the producers back, bringing the songwriters back, you know, taking it back to how we started, and just having an unpredictable lineup going international, going global with verses and artists from verses. We're just starting. Like this company is only approaching a year old, you know, so we still have a lot more work to do. And sky's not the limit; it's just a view.
Okay. Well, thank you all for doing this. I'm glad we made it work this time. And appreciate the time as always.